most AD carries. Not as much of an issue with Lucian, and specifically Lucian no Nami and no Milio. Lucian Braum does create a bit of an easier trading pattern at the very least for Light, even if it definitely still is not favored for the Kai'Sa, and I think we're definitely seeing that a little bit, but KL just going to be coming in with the Sealed Spellbook.
Sealed Spellbook, yeah, gets the TP in, gets a concussive blow stun onto Erha, throws the shield up. Damage boost, though, comes to Hope. He gets the better of the resets. Caulfield's Warhammer, compared to that recurve bow, is a much better spot to be in. As Xiaohu will jump forward to get a full taunt combo. Not going to ever really scare off Shank, especially with ult up, as this Raptors camp is just the focal point for both these junglers. And this time Tarzan gets it, but does have to commit his smite on the big Rap.
Yeah, it's funny how much pressure has been put into those Raptors. Definitely more important than the Dragon that's been on the map for a little bit of time. But it does look like we could be getting some early vision around there. It's actually Anyone's Legend who's going to be starting it up. Bot lane with shove and push as expected. Tarzan's going to make his way down, and it looks like it will be that free first Dragon going over to AL here, unless Tarzan, really rushes down with Erha here.
Well, Tien has ultimate over Tarzan. I wonder if the Dragon will get the paranoia up. But they have to be wary. Good dodge on the Swirl Seed is going to make sure the Drake will be secure with that 600 smite. Tarzan does take over to level 6 off of that play. Hero's Interest is going to come down. Charm does land onto Erha. There's no Alistar ultimate to keep him very, very tanky, but the Lilting Lullaby lands onto Kael. Tarzan does not pull the trigger on the ultimate. Doesn't see a window that he likes to go in here. And the Lilia really benefits from these extended fights. Hits the field goal, though, on the Swirl Seed, and all of AL are able to get out with just a couple of ultimates burned as they secure the first Dragon.
Yeah, that's actually a really big ultimate.
About earlier with that topside play, Breathe's priority really makes this hard for AL to force their way into. And while it is a win for Weibo, I do want to point out this is kind of the difference when it comes to AL. As we talk about their pedigree, recognizing when they have to sacrifice certain things on the map. This was the exact spot where Weibo threw the entire game 3 away, trying to stop a 3-grub take.
Yeah, I think, you can't talk about TN without using the word greed. Like, those two words just have to be used identically and interchangeably.
Now, as that Dragon hits the Rift.
Yeah, that teleport signals to me that they are very happy to give over this Dragon. It will not be contested by AL. If they do choose to contest, I will be very surprised. But it looks like it's just being forfeited. Weibo, though, a little bit behind in terms of the spawn rate, so they're not going to be there immediately on spawn. They will get there eventually, but with Shanks pushing on the top side, Xiaohu's eventually going to have to go and match. So we will see if this does turn into a 4v4. Tarzan just on the top side. Again, no real concern or worry. Just trying to generate as much tempo and pressure as they can, but right now, it's a very neutralized game state. I mean, we're looking at, about a 1k gold difference in favor of Weibo, 800 gold, around that mark, and generally you're not really looking at any lanes being entirely ahead other than Breathe, but Flandra's going to be fine in the late game, so all it's going to take is one big explosion for this game to blow wide open.
Jen will finally start that Dragon. I was going to say, though, if you want to get this done on a good timer, you got to swing some people over, and it'll be Breathe and finally Light that match that. Not going to really drop any waves for this, so good tempo timing there for Weibo is, like you called out. Xiaohu does make sure that Shanks isn't able to get any plates down on that topside turret. We continue at a 0-0 deadlock, cresting over that 14-minute mark. Hey, man, what are you looking for here if you're either Weibo or AL? And more importantly, my question becomes, who needs to really ramp up their tempo now that we're cruising towards 20 minutes with nothing going on?
Well, I think the answer to that second question for me is pretty easy. Anyone's Legend really need to keep their foot on the gas, right? This Nocturne Ahri Lucian is not going to scale nearly as well as, a Galio Alistar frontline with a Lilia and a Kai'Sa. And so you need to make sure you're in a position to be able to create your own advantages. But as long as Weibo Gaming end up playing a little bit more calm and reserved, a big ask of them, I know, but as long as they start doing that, I think they'll be fine in this mid game. I want to go back to a point you made earlier about the Nocturne build. I think if you build anything other than, Bruiser this game, I think you're actually trolling at least a little bit. I think your role as Nocturne is going to be to create disruption. You need to create as much space as possible to allow Shanks and Hope to be able to get onto the backline. This Nocturne's not going to have an easy time with all of the peel coming in, the Galio taunt, the Alistar in general. Lily is just not really locked downable. Like, it's going to be difficult for Nocturne himself to be a carry, and so I would expect that to continue to be much more of a utility team-focused build coming in from Tarzan.
Questions you raised, though, and we point out from draft, do make this Nocturne pick a bit of a head-scratcher. Obviously, results-based analysis can really prevail here if he's able to find really big paranoias, set up kills for his team, but glad you called out how difficult this is of a Nocturne game to play. And knowing that you already had the Alistar and the Lilia locked in, and you picked the Nocturne knowing those two champions, the only one that came through after that was Xiaohu's Galio. We'll have to see because, like we talked about, we're zeros up on the kill board at 15 minutes. All the summoners from that first scuffle around the Drake are now back up. Cleanse and Flash for Hope, both summoners for Kyle. Flashes are all up, ultimates are all up. It's really who moves the first chess piece in this one. With, again, had the entire series' stake on the line. And as I say that, Erha takes a bit of an interesting headbutt pulverized combination. Does get the culling out of Hope, though. So damage neutralized out of the Lucian, and Weibo are going to take that and feel confident enough to start up the Rift Herald. But AL are close by. They teleport in Flandre, as you called out, K-Man. They've got Shakes on the top end of your screen. Herald soon to fall. Lights go out. Horn coming out. They're going everything onto Erha with the Unbreakable Will, and they do catch Breathe trying to jump in with the Dominus. Gets a huge cold to be healing. Alive. Gets out. The hero's entrance. Let's save Breathe. No. Xiao gets the knock up to set Light up to go in with the Killer Instinct, but Shanks has already taken off Erha. Light really needs to be the carry here on this Kaisa, trying to get forward. But Shanks is the one that has to flash out. Tarzan trying to hold the line on the front side. He's going to flash after Light. He has the fear. Can he get the kill? Yes, but it's traded. Light gets the triple kill, and now Shanks is running for the hills. And Tien is very potent to try and chase him down. Gets the flash forward to make sure he can find the kill, and the poison will do it. Weibo in the first big fight breaking open, find a narrow win, full pushed into a pigeonhole of the game state with everything on the line in this series.
This team is just so resilient. This organization across its history has just had so many moments where it's been able to pull itself out of the brink of disaster and hope.
Yeah,
stepping too far forward.
Blitzing Lullaby, though, not going to be channeled there from Tien. They had a ton of damage ready for it, but they're going to let Hope and Kyle slide out of that one. Hope, though, not able to heal up. Should have to take a reset or call for somebody to cover this mid-turn as the Herald's immediately channeled. And that should knock down the mid-tier 1 and open up more of the map for Weibo.
Yeah, it's just small incremental advantages now at this point as we head into the 20-minute mark. That means Otacon will be spawning in 45 seconds, but right now Dragon is the priority. This will only be second Dragon for Weibo because the timers are so delayed. AL do not want to give this over, though.
This is a really tough choke to push through once again. 5v5s are so much in control of Weibo as they secure the Dragon. Ornhorn is going to hit onto Light in the background. Keep your eyes on the Kaisa for a main amount of the damage. His Hulk already gets chunked down to half. Taunt's going to land onto Flandre. Kyle's going to try and hold the front line with the shield up, but the Lilting Lullaby hits onto Shanks. One more charge of the Spirit Rush. He has enough to create more distance. They're waiting out the Dominus there from Breathe. Lots of ultimates, little consequences, and both teams turn heel and don't force any further of a fight.
That's once again a win for Weibo, though. They're able to grab the Dragon, get their second of the game. AL is going to be able to push down the mid lane. They will be able to take this tier 1 mid, but they'll have to expend their teleport onto the bottom side of the map just to keep this tower up. So
it is Braum.
Resources used. It is Braum. Actually, it's a very good point. I didn't realize. It's not even Flandre's teleport coming in. Classic unsealed spellbook, and it's actually Otacon that's going to be started here by Tien and Breathe.
Okay, Shanks has TP to come back here. Only one going for this reset. The Otacon, like you called out, is on Vision. They're going to go after Xiao, who does burn the flash. He has Hero's Entrance. He can rejoin the fight despite burning that Summoner. Otacon doing tons of work. Breathe does not have Dominus. They're going to engage onto Flandre. The Ornn soaking up a ton of pressure, but this is forcing a 50-50 here. Did Weibo go too far? Trying to go for the Otacon. Yes, because Tarzan steals it away, and now the rest of AL can try and run out. Charm's going to land on the Tien. The Coling keeping enough distance, but AL looking to go back forward. Shakes, first Spirit Rush going forward. Flash forward from Kyle. They want the stun on the Xiaohu, but they don't get it. One stack short, but Shanks is waiting on the charm, and here comes the Ornhorn. They're going to get the knockup buffered here by Erha, but he's down. Gone. Hero's Entrance does not stop. The cow goes down. Beast on the menu, and AL are still hunting. They're pushing the tempo, going after this bot tier 1 turret. We have to be careful because Breeze gets Dominus back up. Burns through Kyle. Trades his life. Support for top laner. Another win for AL. Not lights go out. Tarzan goes in. He wants light, but there's nobody else following him. Desync out of AL punishes Tarzan, and now the rest of AL are too low, and Light is flashing forward. But Flandre is not the right target to find. And a long, long fight finally settles down with AL finding the Otacon, but at a price.
What a chaotic fight. I can't even begin to talk about everything that ended.
Gonna sacrifice top push. Breathe has that going with TP, so they're sacking waves to force the fight now. There's the Glacial Fissure into the Ornhorn knockup. Charm is gonna land onto the tank, but they're keeping Light safe right now. He's relatively untouched, but they're losing their front line rapidly. Tarzan's gonna push the Paranoia onto Breathe to hold him at play. Xiaohu goes down first, and AL are somehow finding a way to front to back through a team fight. Tien goes down next. Weibo had no business holding that line at the Drake pit, and boy, did it cost them.
I have no idea what their idea was there, what their plan was for that fight. Like we talked about, they needed to get rid of Vision, but they actually just walk up and give AL everything they're looking for, a free engage onto the front line. While AL don't have the strongest front to back in the world, if you give them free damage on your Galio, they're gonna be able to burst through it. That's exactly what happened there. Once again, a really nice fight from Shanks, who has really been able to step up in these 5v5s throughout this series, but, you know, AL clawing their way back and Breathe not able to get in. That's the big difference maker.
Yeah, Tarzan, good job jumping on top of him, kind of spooking him. Breathe, though, still wants a lot of the action here, trying to hold the line after the Scuttle Crab as the Baron dance will begin. Shanks having time on the spot side is going to claim this turret. So it's starting to get into that lull that we worried about with Weibo, where they're really just too slow.
Player to, you know, hitch your wagon to. Light did this so much for this team last year. It's all really going to be about if he can repeat those performances. A huge fight from Xiaohu here.
The general coming through, lights out though. Tarzan's going to try and disrupt with no vision, and all of Xiaohu's health bar nearly cut down by the culling. He barely survives, but a stalled engage here, and now AL can try and push the tempo with Shanks. He's got to find a clutch charm here with that Spirit Rush, but he's going to ait a Swirl Seed. Lotulilla going to come across, clutch charm and dash, so gets Shanks back out. So that huge team fighting ultimate coming off the board, and now Weibo can settle back into this mid wave, not having to blow a ton. As Xiaohu's going to teleport back in, and Weibo might just turn and try and threaten this Baron without Paranoia down.
That would be huge. Again, not only no Paranoia, no Ornhorn as well. That's actually massive for AL. It's one of their most consistent forms of engage, and so they're going to have to teleport KL in here.
There's Dominus, there's Unbreakable Will, there's Killer Instinct, everything. Weibo have their fight that they really need. Can they just execute? Because Xiaohu's getting knocked up and thrown into the air. Bree's already at about half HP, not even popping the Dominus. They have all the ults they ever want, but still, AL do not crumble.
It's just so hard to break through that front line of AL. We talk about the Galio and the Alistar and the Renekton being so difficult. Well, it turns out those health bars are pretty squishy, and Ornn decide wants to let this go.
Yeah, they're still going to fight over it. First engage going to come on to Breathe. They're trying to chunk him out before he pops the Dominus. AL all game long have been really good at making sure this Renekton doesn't go huge in these fights, but Flandra's looking to start. They force the stasis out in TN. The lights are going to go out. Breathe pops the Dominus. Colleen going to force the flash out of the Croc. So flash down ult off of the Renekton, but it costs a couple key ults of AL's own. Not Shanks' Spirit Rush, though. He's going to connect the charm onto Erha. Unbreakable ult Will matches another ultimate. Kyle going to jump in and try to set up the concussive blows. The shield is making sure Light's damage is very limited. Weibo are getting cornered, but Light still has angles to try and go in. Can Tien set up for a big little lullaby? Maybe with the TP behind. Flash out of Hope to try and create distance. Hero's entrance now comes down. We're losing tons of ultimates, but Flandra finds a three-man knockout. Light, though, still untouched. Trying to turn and burn through the Ornn's health bar, but he's losing his front line once again. Xiaohu goes down. Look the lullaby through, but Hope is kept safe. Kyle's shield is holding everything at bay. Light cannot get in. Somebody has to find these kills, but nobody on AL will go down. Finally, Light flies in. One kill found, but he's kited out. He's pushed way far out of any further fight. And Spear rushes back up. Can Shanks find the kills? Yes! Lights down! Tien falls! Shanks the hero! Once again for anyone's legend!
Oh my god, what a fight from both of these teams. Unbelievable stuff from both of them. Oh my, I have to process myself as we go throughout that. Light, not able to get into the fight, pulls the trigger on the Killer Instinct to dive back in. Flandra soloing Baron. I'm losing my Mind Slayer.
Don't worry, guys. I'll warm it up for you. Slowest Baron take you've ever seen.
Dude, like, are they transitioning up to the top side? They are. They take the dragon. They're taking the bot turret. They're just transitioning up to the Baron. They're going to be able to take this as well. Tarzan's making his way here. This is gone. That fight was ginormous for anyone's legend. Not only was that a win for them, with Shanks and Hope being able to clean up on the back end, they just got everything.
The Ornn is too tanky, so I'll get back to my point. Again, Hope had a lot of critics for his team fight ability in the regular season. You pointed out in that last fight. So impressed at the turn that Hope has made for these playoffs, playing these team fight champions, and as much as we put a ton of presence on Light's Kai'Sa, this Lucian too is such a big part of all of AL's damage. Both these AD carries are all about bringing home the damage for these teams, and again, it's Hope being better, even with Light in a much more advantageous position out of the early game.
Yeah, I mean, Hope has been unbelievable throughout this series so far, and he's in a big spot here. What a career year for Hope to show up in such a big moment in the playoffs like this it's really awesome to see. But I want to give a ton of credit to that front line as well. KL and Flandra, they don't win that fight without those two peeling in the way that they did. It's about as beautifully played as you could ask for. But as we look towards the future and what we can expect from a potential next fight, a couple of things to point out. First off, item completions absolutely are coming in. Seeker's Arm Guard available for both mid laners. Both the Ahri and the Galio have that stasis available. That could be very, very important for Shanks or Xiaohu if he wants to dive into the backline. Outside of that, we're starting to hit the 4 item power spikes for both of the AD carries, and that means a ton of damage if you let this Kai'Sa or this. It's what it's all about for an org that's tried so hard to be relevant at the top of the LPL standings. They just need to capitalize. And you're absolutely right. Like, you're looking at a gold lead that's, around 7k. This is a lot. Like, that's a complete lie. It's much more around 10k in terms of the ornaments coming in. But if Kai'Sa blows up Lucian, where does that go? Where does that gold lead go? If Kai'Sa blows up Ahri, where does that gold lead go? These setups can happen. They are realistic, but you have to play it well. Weibo have to prove they can stay on AL's level. Here is the opportunity.
They have to walk into a nightmare scenario with zero vision in the river. Breathe already chunked to half by one combo from Shanks. This is Renekton gets zero value. He's way too low to even try and compete with Dominus up by this point. He has to take a reset and TP back in. So AL get a window to try just burn through this Drake. Can they get the Ocean Soul before Breathe can even get back here? Weibo are completely stunned. They can't get into the pit. Ocean Soul secured. Ornhorn is going to lock it down. Get the Glacial Fissure. Tien is fronted. Breathe is back here. Dominus, full health bar. Weibo, you have to go for the fight. You can't just give the Ocean Soul for nothing. They're trying to cut off the escape routes, and AL are going to play Recall Chicken at 37 minutes with the entire series on the line. Weibo need to find this fight win, or it all crumbles. And they're setting up the flank angles, but the tanks are holding true. The Paranoia comes across, two-man knock him again from Flandra, but they have to get onto Light, and Tarzan goes for it, wants everything, getting towards the AD carry, but the Hero's Entrance comes across. Dominus Renekton, can Breathe survive? No! The knockups come through! Light tries to fly in to save it! Huge knockups across the board, but it's AL that come out on top! Anyone can be a legend, but these 5 are legendary today! They're gonna knock Weibo down once again to the lower bracket and solidify themselves top 3 in the LPL!
Anyone's legend. They have finally done it. It has been time after time after time for them to be able to overcome their own demons as an organization, roster after roster that has underperformed, but it's the players they stuck with. Shanks, Hope, KL from last year that are carrying them through and getting them to winners finals.
AL are one series away from getting back to where they fell short in Split 1. One series away from international debut. What a series. What a game to close that one out. That was the best game.